Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I made a video, but here I am. I'm in the bay. It's been a lot of changes since I last filmed in here. Mainly, we have got rid of everything. It's all gone. It's all clear. It's not clean at the moment, but it's clear. We've got a ramp. Lighting's the same. We've got a TV up in the corner now. And I've got a little cubby hole with all my storage and everything. I'll run into it. I'll run through everything I've got, all the new equipment I've got in a separate video. But today I'm just going to be documenting the change, quite a major change I'm going to be making, which is the paint on this floor. At the moment, it's just your normal, it's not industrial, it's just garage floor paint, just to make it look a bit more clean and tidy. But the problem is, you paint it, it looks perfect for about a month, and then it starts to do this. It starts to peel and it starts to fade, and these are the high traffic areas. This is where I'll be walking most of the time, or stood at the bench cleaning mats or whatever. And yeah, it's just worn down. Here again, this is where the car tyres usually rest when they're in the bay, and it just looks tatty. Not to mention that this is an old unit, the unit that I'm in, so it's had multiple different uses over the years, and the floor's covered in, before we got here, the unit was a gym, and they had rubber matting down, they had AstroTurf for like pushing a sledge and stuff like that, and it's covered in this adhesive that's also left behind bits of the glue, the matting and stuff like that. So whenever you try and paint things, it's just, you never get a nice finish, and then these things get clogged up with dirt and they're hard to clean. And so anyway, I'm making a change. So what I've got is I've got some 2-part epoxy floor paint. It's not on the expensive side of things. There it is in that box. It's a cheaper one. I think it cost me about £70 for the, I think it's 15 litres, 10 litres, I don't know. It cost me about £70. It should do this area, and it's going to be non-slip, easier to clean, and of course a lot more durable, especially in these high traffic areas. At the moment, I'm just working my way through getting all of this stuff off. You can see that's where I've already started scraping. Getting all of this rubbish off, then I can sand those areas to sort of feather out the hard edges, then mop and degrease the whole floor, then tomorrow give it a final sort of brush to get any dust off, and then get the floor paint loaded, and then hopefully it should be dry for Monday when the next job comes in. So I'm going to give you a little time lapse now of me scraping up some of the crap on the floor, and then yeah, we'll get on with it. See you in a bit. So now what I've done is I've got most of it up for the back wall. Most of that rubbish. There's the pile of stuff that's come up. Plus, we've already been through what it is. It's horrible stuff. I've moved the lift, scissor lift, out of here just because I knew there were a few flaky spots underneath here. Again, from car tyres. That I'm going to need to scrape up. There's also a lot of dirt from obviously having cars in here. There's a lot of dirt that's just been trapped under the ramp and not been able to get to. As you can see, there's bits that need scraping underneath there. So we can get to those bits now. Nothing really along this edge. There's plenty to do along here. And then there's a bit at the entrance there. So let's crack on again. finally, that's the scraping done, getting all those big bits of adhesive up. We've got a nice pile there, one there, and last little bit here. There are some outer bits here. I'm not really bothered about them because I'm actually only going to be painting up to, from that line, from there, well basically on this line here, this line that's already in the concrete, and then the other, I don't know, half a foot we'll do in a black or something, like a partition line. A lot of stuff, a lot of the paint that was underneath the lift, where it had just been wet that whole time, where it had that rubber matting down under the lift, it's gone almost, it went soft and it was really easy to scrape away, so I'm glad I got all of that up. Basically, with these two-part epoxy paints, you want to get any loose bits of paint up, because during the curing process, as that paint sets up, it's going to, basically it's going to expand. Expand or contract, either way it moves about a lot, and it's going to pull any cracked bits, it's going to pull up and it's going to start to lift, and then it won't bond correctly to the floor, and that's when things start to go wrong. But yeah, gonna have a clean up now, sweep this up, get it in the bin, then we're going to get the sander. Actually probably sand first. We're going to get the sander on these edges, so where I've scraped it you've got quite a lot of hard edges, and you want to just sort of flatten off these edges so you haven't got as visible of a dip or a lip when you put the new paint over it. Once that's done, have a proper sweep up, then get the hoover on it, get any last bits of dust up. Then I'll put some Surfex HD all-purpose cleaner, because it's quite a strong degreaser. Get some of that in the mop bucket, mop the whole thing, and then in the morning it should be dry and ready for paint, which should give it then about 3 full days to set up and cure, and that should be ready to get the ramp back on it on Monday morning and get a customer's car in here, which will be perfect. So I'm going to get on with that right now. Oh. Right, that's the sanding done. You can see I'm covered in dust, everything. We have feathered all sort of like the edges, like I said, some of the smoother areas, the lower, or should I say sometimes like the higher foot traffic areas that have been almost polished. They have been sanded, scuffed up a bit. So there's just a lot of dust on the floor now, so I'm going to give it another sweep, get the hoover out, hoover the rest of the dust up, then give it a mop. And then it's all ready for the paint tomorrow. A lot of kits, actually, they want you to, especially on these bare concrete areas, they want you to acid etch. There's one problem with that. I'm in a bay within a unit. I can't jet wash. I can't acid etch, get the floor soaked and then jet wash it out. That just wouldn't work. So I'm trying to stay away from that route. That's why I've gone for a cheaper epoxy, so if it doesn't work, if it does start to peel off, I know it's going to be stronger than the normal floor paint anyway. If it does start to peel off, then it's not too bad, because it only cost me £70, so it didn't cost me £300 like some of these kits can. So in that case, get hoovered up, get swept up, give it a mop, and it should be all dry by tomorrow, ready for paint. the floor sanded, got it swept, hoovered, mopped. Then the camera died. You didn't see I went back over the area that I'd put the soapy water on. I'd then gone over it with a stiff broom to scrub it, and then I'd gone over it with just plain hot water with a mop to sort of wring the mop out as much as you can and get all of the soap residue and dirt off of the floor. So now, this is what we're left with. These areas that were quite smooth have all been scuffed up with the sander, and all the areas with the paint that flaked up, they've all been feathered out. Any loose remaining bits of paint, any remaining bits of paint that were loose, have been lifted up with the sander. So they're all ready to go for painting. This is the paint that I'm using. It's like I said, a cheaper paint from Trade Paints. I just found them on Google. It's a 2-part, so this smaller tin is your curing agent, and this, of course, is the paint. We've got to go and get a roller and some paint brushes for the edges. So we're going to go and do that now, and then we can get on with painting. Also, actually, while I'm here, I brought these along, a clean, dry pair of sliders. The reason being that it's wet outside, it's been raining, and if I start walking around in here with dirty, wet boots on, then I'm going to be leaving footprints, and it's just all the area that I've worked hard to get clean and prepped is then going to be dirty. So anytime I'm in here painting or whatever, dry sliders on, and that way we shouldn't interfere with the clean floor. Anyway, let's go and get those paint brushes and roller and then get started. Right, so shopping's done. We've been, and we've got just a cheap bucket to mix it in, because there's not enough leftover space in here to mix the hardener into. So that can all get put into this bucket and mixed. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cut in the edges with this, just a 3-inch brush, and then for the larger areas we'll just pour like a line of paint onto the floor and then spread it with this roller on an extender. So we're going to mix the paint now. So we're just pouring the paint into the bucket ready to add the hardener, which is here. Just an FYI for anyone who is going to go for paint that comes in tins like this, I've gone for a non-slip one, which means it's got like sort of like an aggregate in it to make it non-slip. When I was mixing it, obviously it's been sat in a warehouse, whatever, before it's even got to me. When I was mixing it, I could feel that there was a roughness at the bottom of the tin, so I thought, oh, that must be some of the non-slip stuff that's fallen to the bottom. When I was stirring it, I thought I got it all up. It wasn't until I poured it in here I realised there was about an inch layer at the bottom, an inch thick layer of this non-slip stuff, which I'm just scraping out now. So just make sure you don't miss that, otherwise you'll end up with quite a slippery floor, which is not good when you've got water and stuff. So we just mixed up the paint, mixed all the aggregate in. Now it's like a gritty mixture. That of course will make it non-slip when it does go down. Now we're going to add the hardener. So it's approximately, the guides and the videos online say approximately 3 to 3.5 parts hardener. No, sorry, 3.5 parts paint to 1 part hardener, and that is roughly the ratio that this works out to and what they've sent us measured out. So we're just going to add the hardener now as we stir. There we go, that's all that in. Give that a good mix. And that's that mixed, ready to go. Now we've got to work fast because it's going to start going, not setting, but it's going to start going off slightly, so we want to work fast. you can see, I don't know if you can see on camera, but you can, all the grit that's in it, that's that aggregate, that's the non-slip element of it. We're hoping for quite a thick coat. Turns out, when I input, on the website I ordered it from, it had you put in your square meterage, what you're trying to cover. And from there, it advised you on how much paint to order. It advised me the paint I would need for a coat would be less than what you got in one of those tins, but it's covered it, but it's not a nice, it's not as thick of a layer as I want, and you can see in areas where, you can't see them on camera, but where we've had to put a thinner layer, it's sort of broken up a little bit, which I'm not too bothered about, as long as I'm able to keep the floor nice and clean, and you won't really spot these areas when it's all dry. We did a bit of a thicker layer on this front edge, which is beneficial because realistically when the customer comes to collect their car, this is the front edge that they're going to see, so any blemishes in the floor will be behind the car, which they won't be able to see. And as I said, it's a big improvement on what I had before with those areas wearing down. It should be a lot more hard wearing anyway. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. So we can let that dry, and I'll show you the finished result when it's all dry.
1 week later.
Right, so you join me now about a week and a half after we laid down that epoxy floor paint, and yeah, quite pleased with it for what we did. It's come up nice and glossy. It's obviously gotten dirty in that time, and I've given it a clean today actually, and it's cleaned so much easier than the old floor did. Bit of degrease it down, let it all soak, and then mop it straight up, and it mops up so easily. A few problems, but I think that's down to human error, my error, other than the products. So I'll just run you through those now, and things that I would do differently next time. So the main thing, which pretty much has caused these problems, is I didn't order enough paint. So I ordered that one tin. You've already heard me say it was a bit of a stretch to cover, which means we got a really thin layer. Was I to do it again, which I am going to, I'm gonna, a few months down the line, probably do it again. I'll order 2 tins of paint, so each half section of the unit will get a whole tin of paint, which will give it a nice thick layer. Because, I mean, at the moment it's got the bare minimum. We really did have to stretch it to cover this area, and we didn't even do the storage cupboard, so that's definitely something that I would recommend, maybe buying a bit more paint than you think you're actually going to need, because I mean, definitely don't get it wrong like I did. Some areas, I think again, because it's such a thin layer, there's a few areas that have chipped up a little bit. That's where the car tyres usually go. You can see where I've turned a car tyre, sort of torn up a little bit of paint. But again, that's a lot stronger than normal garage paint would have been. But in terms of, like I said, with the cleaning, we've actually got a, besides from the normal detailing work I do in here, my dad and I have got a 1968 Beetle that we're restoring. And we were doing work, had it up on the lift, we were doing work on some suspension parts, and there was grease, oil, WD-40 dripping on the ground. There was a whole sort of dried pool of oil here, and I mean, you wouldn't know, to be honest. It's come up really well, so yeah, cleaning aspect, it's absolutely brilliant, but we'll just have to wait and see how it does for wear and tear. It's still nice and glossy, even after a week and a half of it being quite dirty and me walking up and down here a lot. So can't complain in that aspect, but I think I need 2 tins of paint. So in the future, I'll order another 2 tins and probably redo this floor. But for now, in terms of keeping the floor clean, it looks glossy, it looks decent when you stand back. So if you get close up, or like myself, you're in there every single day, that you realise that it has got small defects here and there. But yeah, so all in all, quite an easy experience. You think with these two-part paints, oh, have I got to work quickly? Have I got to do this, do that? It just works like normal paint, to be honest. Once you've mixed it, it's really not that difficult. So for anyone that's thinking of trying to do it, go ahead. It's brilliant stuff. It's a lot stronger than your normal floor paint. The stuff I use, like I said, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Relatively cheap compared to other kits, and yeah, done the job. So thanks for watching. I will be coming back soon with a tour of my equipment, tour of the cupboard through there, and I've got some new equipment on the way, which is very exciting. Quite a big purchase. So I'll be doing an unboxing / review on that, which should be exciting. And plenty of cars to be coming up this year. I'm sure we'll get some juicy ones booked in. And I'll be looking to do some more vlog style format videos on those, showcasing and more sort of talking you through the processes and what I'm doing on the vehicles. So I'm looking forward to those. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, do all of that. And I'll see you in the next video.